my ass.
Can't.
Okay, that was perfect, by the way. And also, hello, everybody. I just love the fact that I switch off of the intro video and the first thing that everybody hears is, quote, the fullest part of my ass, unquote. It's like, the timing couldn't have been better. Well done. Also, hello, everybody, and welcome to a perfectly normal, as usual episode of Back to Basics. Yes, we are doing it again, my lord. We are right on schedule, more or less.
Kind of, yeah.
So,
Oh, shit.
for those of you who are jumping in on episode 83 of our long running and favored by tens of viewers series, if you don't know, I am Pastor Don. As you can see in my wonderfully updated title card, I'm the pastor of Unfinished Community, which is our weird experimental online congregation that makes no sense to anybody but us. And I am joined by the insert your amplification adjectives and or expletives here, Courtney Fraley. Say hi, Courtney.
Hi, Courtney.
Yay!
Come on, it's
Rom clap! Yay! So,
Where are you?
as you can tell,
Stop.
Courtney is currently taking time off of her busy schedule of Mario Karting and yelling at people who are Mario Karting to join us in talking about the Bible.
Hey, it's not just people who are Mario Karting. I'll let you know I have probably fully a quarter of our viewership in my living room right now.
I'm at your ass like you directed.
You at my ass like I directed? That's about where we're at.
That's where I was. I'm at your ass.
Yeah.
It's just more soup.
So before we jumped on stream here, we were in the middle of a conversation that we wanted to pull over here. You want to bring us up to speed?
I think I'd started bitching about Trump was so, like, it was Wednesday.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we were talking about, like, Trump vis-a-vis the Japanese series of prime ministers and their conservative craziness.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, did you see that?
I saw part of that. Yeah, you told me that you weren't super big on him, and I didn't know why. I just, like, so I was more prepared when you were, like, when you explained, you know, kind of your thoughts on the matter.
Yeah. Most Japanese prime ministers have been conservative. In fact, in my time being here, only once has someone from a slightly more liberal party taken power, and it basically.
What does that look like in Japan?
Well, this is exactly what happened. This was early 2011. It was Hatoyama was the prime minister for, I want to say, like a couple of months, less than a year, I think, and it was a sweeping victory. He came to
remember a fast turnaround one time.
Yeah, this was it. This was the first time since the 50s. It was the first time since the 50s that anybody other than the conservatives had taken power. And what happened was he got his party into office off of a very simple promise, which was, I am going to make the Americans move their military base and stop raping and murdering people in Okinawa. Pretty good promise, right? The sequence of events was this. He promised that to everybody. He made a huge ass deal about it. He got elected. Within a month or two, he had a meeting with then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in Okinawa. He went down. He had the meeting. Came back up to Tokyo, got on TV and said the military base is staying where it is. And the conservatives were back in power within a few more weeks. And that was it.
Realistically, like, clearly they don't have any political power there right now, but what does liberalism look like in Japan?
Like most things in Japan, slow.
Tragic. It's okay.
What was that?
I just found out we're out of beer. It's all good.
Yeah, no, liberalism in Japan, like most things here, is just slow. I mean, it's the slow push of younger generations against the old, where the old have an even firmer grip on power than they do in the U.S.
I mean, the stuff that you guys have to fight for has to be different than what we've got to fight for.
But it's because
we're fighting for socialized healthcare. You have that.
Yeah.
You know, we're fighting for reasonable maternity leave. You have that.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
What we have here, we have maternity and paternity leave, by the way.
Maternity leave should be a thing too.
Yeah. But so the key difference is that one, the older generation has an almost unilateral grip on power, but they don't have an almost unilateral grip on all of the money, which softens that somewhat. On top of that, you have the fact that Japanese is a collectivist, or Japan is a collectivist culture. So even the older generation isn't out for me, they're out for my group or us. And when even the well, even when the olds are all banded together as one group, what benefits them as a group still benefits everybody else well enough too. um it's different from in the US, where what benefits, His Royal Highness Elon Musk benefits precisely nobody fucking else. So here, when like 99% of the olds get together and say, yes, we want to make sure that it's easy for us to get our weekly colonoscopies, then all of a sudden, boom, healthcare is working pretty damn good. Uh, so yeah, so like the differentiation works there somewhat. I'm not going to say it's a perfect system, because again, the olds have all the power, and if you listen to most of my college students, they don't fucking like that. Um, but yeah, it is different. It's also a more peaceful society with no guns and a lot less violence. But you also, and this is the flip side too. You also have a what was that?
I was gonna say a couple of things. A
Mhm.
birth rate through the floor, like
Yeah.
I mean, birth rates need to go down, but to a worrying level. Um, a reverse housing crisis in the country, and fuck, what was the other one? I had something a great deal more pressing than that. I was basically doing a reverse arson murder and jaywalking, and now I can't think what the fuck I was saying.
Yeah, I get
Anyway,
that a lot. But yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. The thing about it is that the
the suicide rate.
oh yeah, yeah, and these are all problems related to a society that is both high conformity, high control, and very much about keeping quiet. Um, which tends to be that a lot of people, like, you don't make noise in this society, so a lot of people don't know about major national or international problems. I find this because I teach part time at one of the local universities, and I find this with my students a lot. We just did a unit on uh, gender discrimination, where you know, I had to explain to people what gender discrimination is and how that still exists. Um, and one of the exercises I used was, we start out with a question on public safety, and the question is very simple: have you ever felt unsafe walking on campus? Um, and I divide the room up in half. You can probably guess how, but they don't figure it out right away. And I ask half A the question and half B the question. Half A always says no, and half B always says yes. And then I turn to half A and say, why do you think it's this evenly split? They say, I don't know. I turn to the other half and they say, it's because we're the girls and they're the guys. And there's kind of a little bit of a shock there. And then I throw the second question: why is Japan the only country on the face of the earth where it is legally required for all phones to make a very loud shutter noise?
Because the trains. Yeah, that's that I'll admit, that's one thing that I'm scared of about going to Japan. One, I have a tremendous like self-esteem issues over like my entire life, and I don't think I could tolerate the amount of obvious staring, considering that like, I'm a dumpy 43-year-old woman, like I'm not a model. It would be hard enough to deal with the amount of staring and like lewds and shit like on a train if I was just clearly, some runway model or something. But no, I have
You
no
know,
desire to deal with the amount. I once famously told Steve that I didn't want to go to the club one night, go to the gay club one night, because I didn't want to deal with the judgment gauntlet.
yeah. I will say that, like, it is from a foreign perspective, it's a little bit overblown as to how intense that is. Like, I mean, I have obviously female family members and female, biological female anyway, children, and I've spent time like being very aware of that. In Tokyo, you'll see it a bit more, particularly during rush hour. But if you're not Even
You have a
in rush hour, you don't run into it. Like it's not like every day you've got 16 people trying to jam their phone inside your pants. Like that's not how it is. It's not
no.
that
It's just
bad.
that if you read to people as femme,
Hmm.
you can you can end up facing like, especially in the face of a don't rock the boat sort of culture.
Yeah.
You can face some really awkward situations. My thing is, I don't feel like I'd be deeply victimized or something. I mean, you've met me. I don't have enough of a filter. I would just be me on YouTube to some dish on a train.
Right.
I would end up on YouTube again, and TikTok and Instagram, getting filmed by half a dozen Japanese on the train, as I'm like in English cursing a blue streak up some itchy douche on the train. Like, it's just that it would bother me to be stared at. I think is honestly one of the worst things.
Yeah, and that's just something you get used to dealing over here, and that's not even necessarily a sexual thing. It's just you don't look obviously Asian. You're going to get stared at. I mean, hell,
Yeah.
I get that in my own house half the time.
You're also like, I mean, you're particularly tall. Like viewers, and even churchgoers might not know this. Like Don is not a short dude. So, and this isn't a racist thing. This is a just straightforward thing. The average height in Japan is significantly lower than it was back here on the west coast of Michigan.
I will say one of my favorite moments in recent history was one of our members in the Philippines came to Japan briefly, and I had the occasion to meet them. And their first reaction on seeing me come around the corner was, "Holy crap, you're tall!"
Yeah, no, he's huge. He is a giant Kuma. And
I
it
am
is.
nicknamed Pastor Kuma. That is Pastor Bear for a reason, of course. Which, by the way, it is very fun now to have people occasionally refer to me as Doctor Kuma, which is very fun.
Oh God, yeah, that's all gone through then, eh?
Oh yeah, it's my dissertation
So
is up
you
on ProQuest and everything. I was just sharing with our head of our justice committee who streamed with me last time, Tim, that I find it incredibly hilarious that the very first academic thing you read in that dissertation when you bring it up is the list of figures basically. And I want to bring this up real quick because it's hilarious to me.
so you're
Um,
officially Dr. Van Antwerpen then.
I am the Reverend Dr. Donald P. Van Antwerpen, list of various
Gives you
letters
just
beyond.
I need to give you the distance next because that is amazing.
I mean, it's good. I like it.
Hey,
But it's
hit me.
also, hang on.
Socialist fist bump
Oh
from back
yes.
in the day.
Whoa.
Thank you. There we
Yes.
go.
Sorry. I was loading up the thing because I was going to share you the funny. But no, it's nice because it's something I've never thought I was going to be able to do and something that I've always wished I could do. And also, I do believe the first Van Antwerpen to have done. So it's kind of nice. But what I was saying is, I found it hilarious that you load up ProQuest. The list of tables and charts is the first academic thing in the dissertation, and Figure One reads. AI generated art asset depicting an anthropomorphized humpback whale as a 400-pound mugger, perhaps indeed named Bubba.
Why'd you use AI art?
Time constraints. I didn't have time or resources to hire an actual artist for anything, and for one picture, yeah. One of the things I quickly discovered and was informed of, the time constraints in academic research are a thing. It also included, I think, 3 different footnote caveats decrying the use of AI art and apologizing for it.
I'm literally an illustrator.
I know, but I didn't have. I
You
had
could have at least asked if I had
I
time.
had
If I was like, I'm
48
too
hours
busy.
to slap that together at best, and I didn't have time to talk to anybody. I was basically locked in a room trying to get shit done. It was not a good situation. So I apologize to various artists out there. I was trapped with a dearth of options in the moment. So I am sorry. It includes many 2 or 3 footnotes that specifically call that shit out. So I call myself out in using it. So that's the best I could manage.
How many Protestant Hail Marys do you have to do?
Uh 2 or 3, I think. That's what footnotes are, right, Carl Bart?
What's that now?
I
Didn't
said
hear you.
Protestant Hail Marys. That's what footnotes are, right, Carl Bart? Theological reference for those who read their theology. I'd expect everyone to get that. Should we talk about the Bible, maybe?
Yes. I'm kidding. I'm getting, like, for those who don't know me, I'm kind of getting my Jesus fix elsewhere a lot nowadays. I found a place in my community
Mm.
that vibes with me and feels like family and feels very, very correct. So, yeah, I've been doing a bit. Part of why I've been a bit absent is I've been doing a bit more work with them, and I'm kind of letting the spirit lead where I need to be prioritizing right now.
Yeah,
So
that's the nature of our community. We tend to have people
it
who
is.
bounce between the physical and the digital, and that's like we're structured to allow for that. We have no worries there.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
anyway,
good.
Wither Bibble. Do you have the thing in front of you, or do you want me to drop you the link real quick?
Oh yeah, drop me a link. Do you want me to read it?
Right. You can, or I can pop open our good buddy Bob here. Either way,
Wait, I'd like to do it because it helps me keep focused.
that works.
Let me. Come on, you sweet old laptop. You know I love to see you sing. All right, come on, load. Come on, butt munch. Alrighty. Oh, this is what you meant. Yeah, this is when the fucking plagues get serious.
Yeah, I will warn you. We're doing 2 chapters today because 11 and 12 are pretty heavily interconnected. But we'll start with 11. We're not going to talk about much in 11, and we're going to move right on to 12. 11 is
Yeah,
kind
11
of the
is very
warning,
tender.
and yeah, 11 is like warning, incoming plague, and 12 is like basically the second half of a reboot episode.
I was gonna say, before you even said reboot, I caught that fucking reference.
I
Warning,
figured,
incoming game.
I
Warning,
figured you might have caught
incoming
that.
game. Yeah, no, no, reboot was fucking good though.
Yeah, well,
Oh
that
man,
was one of my favorites.
yeah,
Hexadecimal was a whole mood.
I will say that to a certain extent, the kind of underlying philosophy of the creators of reboot kind of
Mhm.
influences how I do the church. Which
Real.
was like they kind of got up there knowing like, look, we know we can't make like really high budget, convincing computer graphics, but we're just going to make a kick ass story and do what we can with it and trust that that will carry. And they were fucking right. And it was awesome. And they like, as the series progressed, they had the opportunity and the technology become more available to really polish up the graphics. And they never did. They stuck with the same janky ass look they started with, and they
It
just
was more
owned it.
polished.
I mean, yeah, it was. I'm not saying it was unpolished. I'm like, it
No,
was still good by
you're
the
right.
standards of the time.
Their style. They
What?
leaned into their style. It's
Right.
something that I feel uh, Star Wars: The Clone Wars did very well, and its
Mm.
ridiculously long amount of run is like the animation was so much better by the end, but it still felt like the same animation. So I get what you're
Right.
saying.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, um, why don't we go ahead and lead into chapter 11, which is our computer warning of the incoming. Not really a game. It's the
Alrighty.
opposite of a game.
The Lord said to Moses, I will bring one more plague upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterward, he will let you go from here. Indeed, when he lets you go, he will drive you away. Tell the people that every man is to ask his neighbor, and every woman is to ask her neighbor for objects of silver and gold. The Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, Moses himself was a man of great importance in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's officials, and in the sight of the people. Moses said, Thus says the Lord, about midnight I will go out through Egypt. Every firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh who sits on his throne, to the firstborn of the female slave who is behind the handmill, and all firstborn of the livestock. Then there will be a loud cry throughout the whole land of Egypt, such as never been or will ever be again. But not a dog shall growl at any of the Israelites, not at people, not at animals. so that you may know that the Lord makes a distinction between Egypt and Israel. Then all these officials of yours shall come down to me and bow low to me, saying, Leave us, you and all the people who follow you. After that, I will leave. And in hot anger, he left Pharaoh. The Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh will not listen to you, in order that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. Moses and Aaron performed all these wonders before Pharaoh, but the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let the Israelites go out of his land. So a quick recap for those of you who've been following this for a while, the hardened his heart thing we have gone over before. Don, you want to give the quick and dirty version of that?
Quick nerdy version. This is not God miraculously saying, fuck you, I'm going to prevent you from doing the right thing. This is basically, I mean, a more appropriate translation might even be the Pharaoh hardened his own heart, but that doesn't carry very well poetically. But basically, you know, it's the temporal consequence of investing yourself in your position, of digging your heels into the point where you can't get out. You twist yourself around to the point where you can't believe in the right thing. You can only believe that you are right. He's so wrapped up in himself. He's become his own God in that way.
Would it be a fair translation to instead say, his heart was hardened, use the passive voice?
I might do that. I will say fair interpretation, perhaps the translation. I don't have the Hebrew open in front of me, so there may be some grammatical reasons not to do
That's
that.
true. If you go back to previous videos, please watch the old content. Hey, it helps us.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But like if you go back to previous videos, we do cite like altar,
Yeah.
and stuff in talking about what is going on here, because it was an early thing that I was like, I've been waiting for this, and I take issue with this entire thing because this seems very clear. Like I won't let him do the right thing. Feels so off, but that's not it. It's not right.
It is worth mentioning too that one of the biggest issues in translational scholarship is the fact that, like, Hebrew does have established tenses and functions that roughly match to those in English. There is a passive voice in Hebrew, and most translators will not use the passive voice if the Hebrew is not also using the passive voice.
That makes sense.
Which makes sense from a grammatical standpoint. But the problem is the people who are most inclined to translate the Bible are also more language nerds than context nerds. So they're going to lean more into the linguistic accuracy than they will into contextual accuracy. Even the NRSVUE fails at this tremendously. It's one of the reasons I love Alter so much, is he's a nerd of both respects, an incredible linguist and a context geek.
And rather than being Christian, he's Jewish, so he's not so much giving you much like Jesus's parables. Alter isn't so much giving you an answer as telling you some different things that are very relevant here that you should be thinking about.
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and take a minute. I'm going to reread this actually in Alter's translation. Give you a sec to listen to see if you spot any differences. I don't think there's much here, but we got in the habit of doing this, and I don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
So chapter 11. What was that?
I said consulting Alter, always good.
Indeed. Chapter 11 in the Robert Alter translation. And the Lord said to Moses, Yet one more plague shall I bring upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterwards, he will send you off from here. When he sends you off altogether, he will surely drive you out from here. Speak, pray, in the hearing of the people, that every man borrow from his fellow man and every woman from her fellow woman ornaments of silver and ornaments of gold, and the Lord will grant the people favor in the eyes of the Egyptians. The man Moses, too, was very great in the land of Egypt, in the eyes of Pharaoh's servants, in the eyes of the people. And Moses said, Thus said the Lord, Around midnight I am going out in the midst of Egypt, and every firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh sitting on his throne to the firstborn of the slave girl who is behind the millstones, and every firstborn of the beasts. And there shall be a great outcry in all the lands of Egypt, the like of which there has not been, and the like of which there will not be again. But against all the Israelites no dog will snarl from man to beast, so that you may know how the Lord sets apart Egypt and Israel. And all these servants of yours shall come down to me and bow to me, saying, Go out, you and all the people that is at your feet, and afterwards I will go out. And he went out from Pharaoh's presence in a flare of anger. And the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh will not heed you, so that my portents may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. And Moses and Aaron had done these portents before Pharaoh, and the Lord toughened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not send off the Israelites from his land.
That's significantly different.
All right. Well, highlights for children style. What spot the differences do we have here?
I mean, there's differences of wording. That is in both of those parts. Never mind. I was
Yeah.
thinking that there was taken from one verse and plopped into the next, but never mind. If you would like to start us off on that, then that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Because
Truth be told, I didn't
again, I was like,
actually.
"Oh, shit."
Yeah. Truth be told, I didn't actually see a whole lot here. There is, some phraseology issues here. Um, toughened Pharaoh's heart versus hardened Pharaoh's heart, stuff like that. Um, I will say, where is it? Uh, yeah. Um, I like how Alter phrases um, Moses's kind of drama queen exit. Yeah. Whereas the NRSVUE is, and in hot anger he left Pharaoh, and Alter's like, and he went out from Pharaoh's presence in a flare of anger. It's like, okay, all right, Alter, I see what you're doing there. I get it. I see you. Um, but most of this is really just, I mean, it's just that. I'm looking at his footnotes here. It's all just mostly dramatic phraseology here. There's not.
The chapter's making like, since we've kind of covered that, then let's
Mhm.
keep it moving. The chapter's also making a point of saying that like the Egyptian people didn't blame the Israelites for any of this.
Yeah, that's one of the 2 points I did want to bring up. Actually, is
Like
that
that seems wild to me, especially given the history of anti-Semitism and how like when it's not their fault, the Jews get blamed for stuff. So it's shocking to me that they weren't just like, really, your God is cursing us and killing our children.
yeah. Well, you
Like,
also have to say like the killing of the children hasn't happened yet, for one, and for two, um, I think it's worth understanding that the differential between Pharaoh and Pharaohic supporters and the Egyptian everyman, as it were, wasn't that different from the differentiation between, say, the 1% and the rest of the United States right now. There were a lot more. The majority of the Egyptian population was probably closer to the Hebrews than they were to the Pharaoh in
yeah.
terms of structure and position. So there was, and again, I'm extrapolating from some of the kind of Hebrew histories I've read, some of the kind of Christian documents I've read on this. There was, as I understand it, in this environment, kind of an underdog feeling to the Hebrews amongst the Egyptians. Like, they may not be us, but we're still cheering for them, kind of thing. Um,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, their freedom is our freedom. There was not quite solidarity in some places, but actually actual solidarity in others. I do like, and I want to make sure I'm getting
That
this here.
like almost everything in the world, there's like more complexity to it than anything that we reflexively try to answer. Like it wasn't all one or the other.
Yeah.
Like there was some of both. Uh,
Yeah. I do like, there's a couple of things I really do like here. One of which is the kind of subtle, oh, by the way, if you got any Egyptian friends, maybe borrow some gold from them because you're gonna be dipping out tomorrow. You get to keep that shit. Like, you know, I get it. I get the reappropriation of wealth. I get it. That's kind of the really only way you could have wealth reappropriation function in that environment. It's a bit dishonest, but
a bit.
yeah, I mean, at least
Okay,
there's a
hang
whole
on.
discussion.
Your neighborhood leftist has to stop in and say, this view is not necessarily that of unfinished community or the Reformed Church in America,
Yeah,
but
or necessarily me, but
if God was like, hey, you should low key steal from your neighbors on the way out because you're gonna need what wealth you can get and they owe you. Um, I think it's probably okay if someone needs to shoplift, like formula or dare I say, given recent news stories, diapers. Like
yeah,
you didn't see shit, and that's okay
yeah.
with God.
I will. No, I'm gonna double down with you on that. I agree, actually, and I think that that's the category of thing we're talking about here. Is this is the equivalent of poor folks stealing diapers? Is okay. Yes, it's theft, but also kind of fuck you, rich people. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, the
Well,
cashier working at the Walmart might get in trouble because someone ripped him off, but at the same vein, like,
not generally. They
I mean,
generally do. Yeah, sorry.
depends
Theft is
on
generally
depends on the
like
store and the
self-protect.
manager. I've seen some shit too. Um,
Yeah.
but I like that might happen and that might be a consequence of it. But when you boil it down to it, that's not the thief's fault. That's the manager's fault for being an asshole. Um, that's it's tough to differentiate because we really want to blame the thief because taking something that isn't yours is wrong. But there is a point at which you should have by justice negates theft. Um, and it's a tough line to say, and I'm not going to be the one to give you anyone a universal line at which that happens, but I will go ahead and back you up in my capacity as minister of the word and sacrament and say that if you see someone stealing baby food or diapers, you can see shit.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, well, and
um,
honestly, like, and people will be like, "It's in the ten." Yeah, it's in the Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not steal.
mhm.
Okay, how much do you? It's like defining theft is along the same lines as defining violence. If you look at things in the context of the system that is happening, uh, is it theft?
Yeah, talk
Is
to
it
me about
violent?
thou shalt not steal when we're going after wage theft. Then we'll talk about thou
Yeah.
shalt not steal as a universal.
Well, if you want somebody to do something about wage theft, apparently you need to find yourself a Muslim.
Yeah, I'm with you there, man. Dude's got the right of it.
Oh my god! If these freaking rent freezes work, part of me is like, we should move to New York City.
I have said this before. I will say this again. I would absolutely love it if somehow Dami were to kind of brute force himself into the presidential race. And I know he wasn't born in the United States, and that's the reason I want him to do it. Um, because I would love for him to use the same technique that Trump is using of just, well, I'm sure that's what the law says, but fuck it, I'm not going to pay attention and win.
Just
Because
keep
then
running
on
anyway.
well, because then on his deathbed, Trump could end out his time on this earth by seeing a dark-skinned Muslim man who was not born in the United States actually take office.
Yeah. God.
Anyway, I digress. The plagues.
The plagues. Let's
Yeah,
move on to
let's
something
move on
slightly
to
lighter.
yeah.
Plagues.
Yeah, I forgot to show the scripture passage for 11, so I'm going to show it for 12. So my apologies, everybody there. Let me switch over to
Ready
the scripture
for
showing.
this? Holy beans! Holy shit! It's a huge chapter.
It is
We're
a
gonna have to
bit.
break this into sections. I think two sections should do. The first part, the first Passover, and then the tenth plague in Exodus, and
You are
directions.
our reader, by all means.
Alrighty. All right, let's go ahead. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, "This month shall mark for you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year for you. Tell the whole congregation of Israel that on the 10th of this month they are to take a lamb for each family, a lamb for each household. If a household is too small for a whole lamb, it shall join its closest neighbor in obtaining one. The lamb shall be divided in proportion to the number of people who eat it. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a year-old male. You may take it from the sheep or from the goats. You shall keep it until the 14th day of this month. Then the whole assembled congregation of Israel shall slaughter it at twilight. They shall take some of the blood and put it on the two doorposts and the lintel of the houses in which they eat it. They shall eat the lamb that same night. They shall eat it roasted over the fire with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Do not eat any of it raw or boiled in water, but roasted over the fire with its head, legs, and inner organs. You shall let none of it remain until the morning. Anything that remains until the morning you shall burn with fire. This is how you shall eat it: your loins girded, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it hurriedly. It is the Passover of the Lord. I will pass through the land of Egypt that night, and I will strike down every firstborn in the land of Egypt, from human to animal, and on all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. I am the Lord. The blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you live. When I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no plague shall destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. This day shall be a day of remembrance for you. You shall celebrate it as a festival to the Lord. Throughout your generations you shall observe it as a perpetual ordinance. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall remove leaven from your houses. For whoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day shall be cut off from Israel. On the first day you shall hold a solemn assembly, and on the 7th day a solemn assembly. No work shall be done on those days, only what everyone must eat, that alone may be prepared by you. You shall observe the festival of unleavened bread. For on this day I brought your companies out of the land of Egypt. You shall observe this day throughout your generations as a perpetual ordinance. In the first month, from the evening of the 14th day until the evening of the 21st day, you shall eat unleavened bread. For 7 days no leaven should be found in your houses. For whoever eats what is leavened should be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether an alien or a native of the land. You shall eat nothing leavened. In all your settlements you shall eat unleavened bread. Then Moses called all the elders of Israel and said to them, Go, select lambs for your families and slaughter the Passover lamb. Take a bunch of hyssop, dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and touch the lintel and the 2 doorposts with the blood in the basin. None of you shall go outside the door of your house until morning, for the Lord will pass through to strike down the Egyptians. When he sees the blood on the lintel and on the 2 doorposts, the Lord will pass over your door and will not allow the destroyer to enter your houses to strike you down. You shall observe this as a perpetual ordinance for you and your children. When you come to the land that the Lord will give you, as he has promised, you shall keep this observance. And when your children ask you, What does this observance mean to you? You shall say, It is the Passover sacrifice to the Lord. For he passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt when he struck down the Egyptians, but spared our houses. And the people bowed down and worshipped. The Israelites went and did just as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. So they did. Well, this is uncomfortable.
Yeah. I am bringing all sorts of stuff up here to kind of take a look at it, but yeah, uncomfortable is putting it mildly. Now, sorry, I was looking at about 3 different things as you were doing that. You stopped with 28.
Yeah, hang on, let me flick back over. Yeah, I stopped at 28.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna leave that up there. Well, I think we'll probably spend less time with this than with 29 out, where the thing actually happens. But I'm a do our usual here, and I'm gonna go ahead and read alter as well, and we'll play our game of spot the difference.
Can I
Are we
pop in
ready?
right quick though?
Yeah.
I had a first thought I wanted to throw out.
Yeah.
Um, the the Bible and the word of the Lord speaks for 6 long verses, very in a way that reminded me of what bits I've read of the Quran, as far as the amount of repetition, where it's like this over and we're going to keep saying it because we need to express that it's important, and repetition is linguistically how we do this. But it's belabored even for the Old Testament.
Hmm.
And specific, like, I feel like I must need some context for the unleavened bread,
Um.
because
There you go.
wow,
So
was that made a very, very big deal. Like being like, I promised you the whole fucking world, but if you eat anything with anything leavened during this 1 week period, fuck you forever. Like,
this is. I will tell you about this. Um, I'm going to read this right out of Alter's footnotes here. The implication is that this is the kind of bread that can be baked hastily with no need to wait for the dough to rise before putting it in the oven. Anyone who's ever baked bread knows that the leavening process and rising and punching it down, like that's the more time consuming aspect of it. If you're making unleavened bread, you slap that shit together, maybe wait a second if you needed to heat up the oven and chuck that sucker in. Like it doesn't take a whole hell of a lot of time. And
so
a
it's a
lot,
matter of reducing labor.
yeah. Now, one of the reads on the preparatory aspects of Passover here that I've heard before was that this was a communal shift of tactical footing, for lack of a better term. Like a lot of the practices of the Hebrews under Egypt were rooted in their community. Like you did things because as most of us do now, because like your house, your house is going to be here tomorrow. Your house is going to be here the next day. You're not going anywhere. Like I don't need to take the trash out right this Second, like if I need to wait 10 minutes, it's fine. I can make leavened bread. That's fine. Like it's not like I'm gonna have to run out the house here in an hour. Like it's all right. They're dealing with themselves as a sedentary rooted community, and a lot of this kind of traditional shift here, particularly the leavened bread, is shifting them immediately into a nomadic mode without explicitly explaining to them that that's what we're doing here. So a lot of this practice stuff
That's what
is,
you can make over the fire on the fly. You got to make a quick bread.
yeah, it's much harder to make leavened bread when you're camping than unleavened bread, for example.
Yeah.
If you're going to be wandering in the desert for a while, leavened bread, whip up some dough real quick, bit of flour, bit of water, some spices if you're feeling nasty, and throw it on a rock, and you'll be fine.
Or get it nice and doughy and wind it around a stick. Apparently, I found out that's something people have been doing for just thousands of years.
Yep, plenty of ways to do it, and that's that. I mean, that's kind of the point of a lot of this is stressed so repetitively because this is a weather change in community operations. This isn't just, I'm establishing a new festival for you to appreciate. This is, no, we are switching to a tactical footing now, and you're going to be leaving the house, and you better listen to me, because if you don't go to the bathroom now, we're going to not be able to stop when we're halfway through the Red Sea. And if you whip your dick out, a whale might bite it off. So maybe, just maybe, take care of it now. That kind of stuff.
Also, learn to cook your bread quickly, or else y'all are gonna starve. You've got a
Yeah.
week to get used to this.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. And it's
No,
also
that makes a lot of sense.
like it to be perfectly frank, it's also like the same sort of reason why a lot of things here in Japan, for example, are built around similar lines. That's not to say we don't have bakeries aplenty out here now, but like in ancient times, unleavened bread was very common around here after bread was introduced, at least. Rice is something that can be made pretty well and effectively on the fly and keeps for a while, stuff like that. Because, hey, we live in a place where cities just go away sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's like communities that tend to be responsive to disasters or nomadic or both tend to develop those sort of things. And it's also worth noting that we're dealing with an oral history here, but the specificity of this is thought to be retroactive. So it's an oral history, but it's being put down on paper thousands of years after the events happened, and after it's been
Yeah.
recounted for thousands of years. So as they're putting it on paper, a lot of this too, as we've talked about in the past 82 episodes, has been an artifact of people writing this down and saying that, well, I'm writing this down, I should probably explain why we do the shit we do. So that's a piece of it too. So yeah,
All
that
right.
pretty well covers that. And you know what? Having said that, I don't think there's much. I don't think there's much to be gained from me kind of repeating this in alter again. The differentiation here isn't much. Like we talked about the flatbread thing, which is kind of one of the main things. The verse 13, the blood will be a sign for you upon the houses in which you are. The use of blood is thematic and not necessarily requisite. Like this isn't some sort of like black magic that's being invoked here. This is
I mean, it
literary.
feels really weird.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not going to deny that. But
And they're like, you got to scarf it down real quick when you cook it. You got to
Yeah.
cook it this way. You can't boil it. You have to roast it over a fire.
Yeah.
Like,
The rationality of this, I'm going to read from Alter again. It is important, however, to keep in mind the deployment of blood as a recurrent motif in the literary structure of the larger narrative. Moses is thrust from Egypt and set on the road to his vocation as a prophet after he sheds the blood of an Egyptian taskmaster. On the way back to Egypt, it's the blood of circumcision that saves his life. The plagues begin with the turning of the water of the Nile into blood. Like it's literary as much as anything. It's possible that this might not have even been a feature of the real thing itself, but it might have been. I don't know. But yeah. So like it's worth identifying that this is functioning in what we have textually as a literary motif. So looking at this as a specific form of invoked black magic is probably not accurate, but to what degree it's inaccurate, no one can really say. I will say I love this little note from Alter in the next footnote. I will see the blood and I will pass over you, etc., etc. The primary meaning of the Hebrew verb pasah is to skip, hop, or step over. So I kind of get this image of the angel of death just like in a pink dress with a scythe, just skipping and hopping over people's houses. I love it. It's
My
totally
immediate,
inaccurate,
my
but I love it.
immediate mental, my immediate mental image was much more Iliad in nature,
All
where I'm
right, fair
picturing
enough.
just giant archangels just striding around, but they won't step on the houses that have blood on the doors.
Mhm.
Step over. At any rate,
Yeah.
that's some interesting context to that. Is there anything else that we needed to go over for this part?
I don't think so. I think we're ready to do the thing. Because we're 55 minutes in, but this is probably where we're going to hit the worst of it. So let's just rip the band-aid off and do it.
Yeah, okay. At midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, who sat on his throne, to the firstborn of the prisoner who was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the livestock. Pharaoh arose in the night, he and all his officials and all the Egyptians, and there was a loud cry in Egypt, for there was not a house without someone dead. Then he summoned Moses and Aaron in the night and said, "Rise up, go away from my people, both you and the Israelites. Go, serve the Lord, as you said. Take your flocks and your herds, as you said, and be gone, and ask a blessing for me, too." The Egyptians urged the people to hasten their departure from the land, for they said, "We shall all be dead." So the people took their dough before it was leavened, with their kneading bowls wrapped up in their cloaks on their shoulders. The Israelites had acted according to the word of Moses. They had asked the Egyptians for jewelry of silver and gold and for clothing, and the Lord had given the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they let them have what they asked, and so they plundered the Egyptians. The Israelites journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth, about 600,000 men on foot, besides little ones. A mixed crowd also went up with them, and livestock in great numbers, both flocks and herds. They baked unleavened cakes of the dough that they had brought out of Egypt. It was not leavened because they were driven out of Egypt and could not wait, nor had they prepared any provisions for themselves. The time that the Israelites had lived in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of 430 years, on that very day, all the companies of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt. That was for the Lord a night of vigil, to bring them out of the land of Egypt. The same night is a vigil to be kept for the Lord by all Israelites throughout their generations. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "This is the ordinance for Passover. No foreigner shall eat of it, but any slave who has been purchased may eat of it after he has been circumcised. No bound or hired servant may eat of it. It shall be eaten in one house. You shall not take any of the animal outside the house, and you shall not break any of its bones. The whole congregation of Israel shall do this. If an alien who resides with you wants to celebrate the Passover to the Lord, all his males shall be circumcised. Then he may draw near to celebrate it. He shall be regarded as a native of the land. But no uncircumcised person shall eat of it. There shall be one law for the native born and for the alien who resides among you." All the Israelites did just as the Lord had commanded by Moses and Aaron. That very day the Lord brought the Israelites out of the land of Egypt, company by company. Before we say anything else, I need to know why God cares so much about the skin on the end of your dick.
I don't know. I mean, from a Christian perspective, God doesn't.
Okay, like
I
what
I
is this? What does Alter say about it?
I
Like an actual Jewish
expect.
scholar.
Okay, I expect, and this is kind of the understanding I've been brought to understand, is that during this period of our kind of combined history with our Jewish brethren here, that the act of circumcision was much like the unleavened bread, a very practical one. Uh, to paraphrase Robin Williams, you're gonna be wandering around in the desert. You don't want to get sand up in there. Like, I expect that was part of it, and it was again, we're dealing with something that was written down post facto, like by probably several thousand years. So I'm imagining what we're seeing here is kind of the deification of what had been practical ritual into religious ritual. I don't expect that God really has a particular except obsession with dick skins, but I do believe that it was a practical choice that the Hebrews made at this point in time that was so associated with their encounter with God that it kind of became deified by association.
Is
Uh,
that actually a practical choice? Like, is that the predominant practice of people who live in desert environments?
I mean, like from a modern medical perspective, not so much. From a perspective of like 6, 7,000 years ago, desert wanderers, probably. Like most circumcision is more prominent in desert communities, particularly in that region of the world. Now, whether that's because it was something that people hit upon and it kind of spread like a trend and kind of latched on, or whether it because it's had any real medical benefit, I don't know. I'm not that kind of doctor. But I will say that that's about as much as I know. Is it seems that it was at least perceived as practical, latched on, became important, and that later kind of got deified by association. Um,
I mean, that's weird though. Like, and this is a bone that a lot of people pick with the Old Testament in general,
yeah.
whether we're talking about it as an element of the Christian Bible, or more commonly as we're talking about it as an element of Judaism.
Hmm.
Like, I gotta be honest, I'm deeply fucking creeped out by it. Like, I
It's a
don't.
weird one. I'm not gonna lie, but a lot of ancient religious practices tend to be. And again, my understanding is like this one was rooted in an understanding of practicality that got deified by association. And when it comes to weird shit that just kind of became part of religious practices, this isn't the only weird one. There's a lot of shit in here and in other holy books too. It is a thing that happens. Like we get obsessed over kind of weird ass shit when we think the divine's involved in it somehow. And sometimes we're right, sometimes a lot of times we're not. Uh, yeah, there's nothing I can do really about this other than just kind of say shrug, and then that's what the culture at the time believed.
And
Yeah.
unless we're gonna change the book, we have to accept this as
Yeah.
command. Because I'm just like, there's so much like this is not a religion bereft of deep thinkers,
Hmm.
or like people who take some real care with their scripture and with their the way that they view the world. It's weird to me that it's still so widely practiced.
Yeah. I
And
will
like
say there is.
In America, it's widely practiced outside of Judaism too. Like,
Yeah, I do have to
most
say.
most American Christians are circumcised.
Yeah, and for those who are interested in TMI, me too. But I'll tell you this. Um, there is, and I really need to differentiate this, by the way. The mass circumcision of American boys became associated with religion, but it's like a lot of things that are tied to American evangelicalism and its cultic predecessors. It didn't come from us. It came from people like John Kellogg and their whole anti-masturbatory push that comes from the kind of proto-evangelicalism cultishness that they were all tied up in, and it got pushed and pushed and pushed as a health thing. And because they were coming from this kind of pseudo-religious cultic perspective, it got weirdly tied up in Christianity as evangelicalism grew and became a trend that was weirdly deified by association again.
Yeah.
I still hearken back to when I was in seminary, and I'll never forget him for this. Dr. C. Clifton Black. He's when we do our New Testament studies, he's the author of that book I keep pulling out. He was one of my New Testament teachers, and this was right around the time my middle son was being born. It was kind of the first male child I had, and I had to sit down with him, and I asked him. I said, like, honestly, I'm confused. Like everything I've read in the New Testament says we ain't worried about dick tips, but everything my parents have always told me, and my own equipment informs me differently. I'm going to kick this to the expert here. You're the NT scholar. If anybody knows about Jesus and our path as Christians with respect to the big old hogs, it'll be you. So what do? And he just kind of laughed and he says, I get this one a lot. And he says, don't cut your kid. Like, we don't give a shit about that. It's not a thing we do. The rise of that in America has nothing to do with us at all. Let it go. He'll be fine. Um,
Well, and thinking about it from a Christian perspective, the thought comes to mind, well, was Jesus circumcised? I mean, in theory, but also Jesus was trans on some level, so
yeah. And
we
again,
don't know
like,
to what extent.
yeah, we don't know if Jesus was carrying male parts, female parts, something else. If Jesus had the perfect hog, we don't know. Um, you know,
You
The
can't just
spec-
say these things. You can't just say everything that comes into your head.
I'm just gonna
You
go
can't
ahead and point up here and say yes, I fucking can. Like, in case you want, like, I got all them letters for a reason. I can say this shit now. I'm allowed.
Yeah.
But to put it in academic terms, speculation with respect to the divine penis is irrelevant because it no longer exists on this earth. Um, so in any case, yeah, to polish up what we're actually talking about, shall we
Yeah,
finish off the
sorry.
passage?
It bothers me a lot. I'm sorry.
Bothers a lot of people. It's kind of why we don't do it anymore.
Yeah. There we go. Please
Uh,
go ahead.
no, did you finish all the way? I was checking
Yeah, no,
footnotes.
I got through what I was. I got through
Okay,
what I was trying to say.
all right. Then it's time for us to talk about the thing. I'm going to do a weird one here. I have this set up. And there we go. Okay, so I should be able to do this. Good. I don't know why that's showing, but yeah, that should be. There we go. Okay. So I actually have a desk camera set up so I can take my copy of Alter and show it. I'm not sure how visible it's going to be for folks online, but you should be able to see it pretty well. Um, I'm putting this up here preemptively because I know where this is going to go. So Courtney, are you ready to ask the question you've been itching to ask for about like 50 or 60 episodes?
Oh, why did God decide to kill a bunch of babies?
Yeah, what comma also the fuck? Um
Yeah.
yeah, the biggest answer I can give you here, or at least the closest to a definitive answer, is as with most things, I don't know. I don't know, and there is a lot of debate over this whole segment. My
Yeah.
personal take, and this is why I put Alter up here on the screen. I'm gonna borrow this for a minute, y'all. Um, there's a
I would
note.
very much like to know what Robert Alter has to say about this.
Well, he doesn't like just about every biblical scholar and translator I know. Scholars, translators, they're not theologians, and they don't want to touch this one with a 10-foot pole. So Alter doesn't say shit about it. Neither does um who's the one I got here? Neither does Kugel, neither does my standard commentaries. Most of them don't want to go near the intentionality of God in this one with a 10-foot pole. I'm going to read this one from Alter's notes, though, on verse 33. Uh, let's see. Egypt bore down on the people. The literal meaning of the verb is was strong. The same verb hazak was repeatedly used for the toughening of Pharaoh's heart, and a redeployment here in a different context with a different grammatical object is an ironic echo, but that's followed by we are all dead men. Coupled with the wrenching grief over the death of the firstborn is a note of panic. The disasters are becoming more and more intolerable, and after the loss of our sons, the next thing that will happen is we shall all be killed. Now, I am going to take a preacher's approach and a theologian's approach with this. And I'm going to parallel this with economic and ecological disaster. Because what I read here, particularly when we go back to verse 11, or not verse 11, chapter 11, which we read earlier, and this is the reason I wanted to do these both together. If we look back at chapter 11, verse 9, the Lord says to Moses, Pharaoh will not listen to you in order that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. That moment after angry Moses comes back and God says, like, he's not going to listen to you. Um, that coupled with this, I have a borderline prophetic feel of parents in America screaming as ecological crisis devastates our lives, livelihoods, and indeed children. Now, I am not going to say that any of this was just as a direct action from God. But what I have always understood the plagues to be has been consequence. Um, I don't necessarily think that God specifically caused these plagues to happen in this way as a direct consequence. Like Pharaoh not letting my people go, God says, well, fuck you, frogs. I don't think that's necessarily how it works. I think that what?
Said fuck you, frogs.
Yeah,
Back when this
exactly.
was out later.
Yeah, and that
It's
is
still
how it's. I'm not going to lie. That is how it's presented, because of, this is old civilizations that didn't really grasp ecological cause and effect very well. So I can't imagine them presenting it as other way than Pharaoh wouldn't do it, so God said "fuck you." What I see here in this whole story is God sending Moses to Pharaoh to tell him, "You are a slave holder and an obstacle of justice, and you have put yourself like a doorstop in between reality and the world and what is right and just. And if you keep standing there, eventually the world itself is going to run you over. You are building pyramids, you are offsetting the geography of your land, and you are doing it on the backs of the oppressed. And the land is about to fight the fuck back. And so you get displaced animals, you get displaced bugs, you get ecological toxicology in the water that turns it into blood or an algae bloom, if you prefer some accounts. Um, Shit starts getting weirder and weirder and weirder. They get cut off from the sun, the weather gets weird, and then people start to die. Um, this doesn't read to me necessarily like in a modern scientific mindset. This reads to me more along the lines of God sending Moses to warn Pharaoh, you have fucked up your environment and you're all gonna die. Stop it, you moron. And Pharaoh saying, who the hell are you to talk to me? I'm Elon fucking Musk. I'm rich. Go the hell away. Um, and so he takes the position of the beating shall, morale is bad. Screw you. The beating shall continue until morale improves. And the consequences of his actions build up and build up and build up and build up until we get to this point. And throughout the Bible, God's action is very rarely um, punitive in the way we expect, but God's actions are always salvific. They're saving. So the direct action we see from God here in saving the Hebrew people, coming to his people, saying like, you guys are the victims. You don't deserve to suffer from this. You're not complicit in the system. Here's what you need in order to get out of this. Mark, surround yourself in this way, do these practices, which I'm going to assume in some way protected them from whatever ecological crisis was coming. I don't understand the physics of what was happening, so I can't understand the physics of how it would have worked. But my assumption is that that's what the very highly emphasized Passover rituals were for, that they created something that protected them from whatever ecological crisis Pharaoh's own actions had wreaked upon the people. And that in the end, you know, Pharaoh's hardening of his own heart was a rejection of God trying to save Egypt too. Him saying, let those people go. Well, if I stop my slave labor, I won't be able to build my pyramids. Yes, that's the point, you fucking donut. Stop it. Like,
fucking donut.
yeah, like I mean, that was really it, I think. And if he had let the Hebrews go, or even better, what he originally said, let them live as a free and equal people in your land, like made them brothers instead of like that's the whole Moses and Pharaoh analog in the beginning. Let them be brothers. And if he had done that, they wouldn't need to build a pyramid. They wouldn't have a slave labor force, but they could have built a fucking society, which is what God wanted in the first place. And then there would have been no ecological damage. There would have been no offsetting of the Nile. There would have been no bugs and frogs and tormented water and darkened skies, and then eventually dead kids.
Uh, this is a fun theory. Is there any evidence to support this?
No more
'Cause
than
there
there is to
should.
support anything else. Like, we're dealing with thousands of year old texts here. Understanding the literal history of what happened is out the fucking window at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
I
Anybody
guess we're
reading
talking
this
about oral
text,
history that's so stupidly old
yeah.
that it's literally it's prehistoric stuff that they're talking about. Like, well, and it's easy to forget that
Mhm.
Egypt as a culture is unfathomably old. Like, it
Right.
is hilariously old.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, no, it does make sense that there could have been Well, and that's something that if you dig deep enough, like historians and anthropologists can tell you, uh, or archaeologists. Sorry, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
That there's a point at which it's like we can't possibly know what there could have been like mass. I mean, there are entire societies that like we just get mentioned historically and then just like disappear. So
Yeah. And
some kind of
it's
massive, devastating ecological failure of the land of Egypt
right.
way back in the day. I mean,
And this is where it gets interesting is a lot of historians that try to discredit the Exodus as a real event point to trying to line it up with Ramses, I forget which one, as the pyramid building pharaoh who would have been in sync with the Exodus, which gives it a time scale of like, I want to say 1700 BCE, which doesn't line up with any known Hebrew Exodus. It doesn't line up with the way the Levant worked at that period, doesn't line up with ecological disasters.
is very, very late,
I mean,
doesn't it?
yeah, that's 1600 years before Jesus, but when you keep in mind that the origin of these stories could go back a lot farther than that, Egypt itself goes back that we know of 5000, 6000 BCE or more.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Even if it was twice as far before Christ as that, there still would have been time for,
yeah,
the society to work itself up to an ecological problem because they were just so fucking clever. And
right.
that's probably a decent place to start wrapping it up. Give me just a moment.
Yeah. So, and the end result is we don't really know where it is or where it comes from or what the fuck's going on, which is pretty normal for us when reading the Bible. And this is what I wanted to come back to too, is because we don't know. And you asked where I get my interpretation. There is no like evidence. There's no text out there, no buried Nag Hammadi or Dead Sea Scroll or what have you that says, well, actually, God was really saying this. It's too ancient. And we would have even have to go back to the oral histories, which don't exist anymore because once they were written down, we stopped telling them. So now what we have to work with is we have to reverse engineer a little bit. We have to start with, okay, we're talking about God's interaction in history. What do we know about God? Would God do this? And the answer is honestly, no. God would not directly just start slaughtering a bunch of infants because he wants to piss off one dude. That doesn't track with the way God works. And if what you're reading in the Bible and what you understand of God as, again, our fundamental statement of faith, God is love. If you if the two are in conflict, you're probably the one who's reading something wrong, or something was written down wrong, or human
Yeah.
interpolation has probably fucked it up because that's
An
going to
error
be it's
gotten involved
yeah.
somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to be that you're wrong and God is a murderer, as many angry atheists will point out, or happy evangelicals, to take your pick. Um, it's more along the lines of humans got it wrong somewhere. Like, and that is ultimately this is where my academia fails me, is because as a statement of faith, God is love is how I come to interpret a function here. So if I
Yeah.
find something that conflicts with that, then there is no conflict. Either the scholarship is wrong, or the interpolation is wrong, or somebody writ something down wrong, or somebody hasn't figured out what it's supposed to be yet, or what it
Yeah.
was yet. Like the math hasn't, the equation has not been solved yet if you are looking at something and do not see a God of love. It's as simple as that.
Yep. And given that we've been at this long enough, if you want to do a follow up sometime, yelling about, we don't need to yell about it. This is the amount of parallels here are embarrassing and upsetting, and I still live in America.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to me.
By the way, fun side note, if anybody's still watching this at this point, tune into our worship this week because we're going to be going a little bit hard this week on this kind of America stuff. I am not planning on pulling back at all. So yeah, tune in. It's going to be a little bit wild. Sorry, go ahead. You were saying something?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. There's really nothing more to say to it than that. So per our usual, if you stuck with us this far,
We're
What was that?
reminded of we are reminded at the end of this one of the value of saying, I don't know.
Yeah, that is it right there. Saying one of my favorite theological statements is, I don't know, but I know God. Like, I don't know the details of God. I don't know what God would or wouldn't do. I don't know what God did or didn't do. I don't know God's role in history. I don't know all of the, there's a great many things I don't know, but I know that God is love.
As Christians, we believe that, Christ came and, you know, gave us some pretty clear instructions
Yeah.
about how to live and who to be. Like, so at least from our perspective, it does seem very much like, okay, well, whatever's in the book that doesn't agree with what this guy said is somewhere that we fucked it up. We fucked the
Yeah.
message up somewhere.
And that is one of the,
So God sent God's self to Earth to tell us with God's own mouth, hey, here's how you should live your fucking life.
yeah.
And we were like, but, and he's like, no, I said what I said. Sorry,
Yeah.
let's wrap it up.
No, and that is the thing I most love about being a Christian, is there is a certain simplicity to it. Is all of this other stuff is important, and it's helpful, and the ancientness of our traditions, the richness of our traditions are important, and even the more recent ones. Like, I was recently talking with Reverend Dr. James Brum, the head of the Reformed Church Center, on our Reformed tradition, uh, and it was a great conversation. And all of these things are important, but in the end, and we both agreed on this, is if it's not love, it's irrelevant. Like, the
Yeah.
traditions are worthless if they don't point to love, because if they're not pointing to love, they're not pointing to God. Then what the hell are you doing? Yeah, simple as
Yeah,
that.
no, that's absolutely the overarching thing, and that's where, and I've explained this to my young daughter. I've explained that that's where Christianity gets simple and really really hard,
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, what we're called to do, what God in person embodied came and told us what we need to do, what we believe if we're Christians,
mm,
is that we need to treat every single other person on this planet as if they were Christ. That we need to
exactly.
take care of we need to honor one another, we need to respect one another, we need to love one another deeply on a like soul level, we need to care for one another and the beautiful garden that we've been given to live our generations in.
Hmm.
And so yeah, like that's pretty straightforward, but at the same time it's very very difficult because we're human, and also we're all traumatized and wounded by our interactions with other human beings
Yeah,
and the world around us. And so it's really really hard to just, it's like, well, okay, but if I treat this person like they were Christ, they could, that they could mug me and steal my car. Yeah. Like, this is the stuff that, like, early Christians did this. They'd take care of people who were dying of communicable disease. They'd just take care of them, and they'd know that they were going to end up getting sick and die too, but they'd know, it's like, I took care of this person. This person
yeah.
wasn't alone. They were
Hmm.
cared for as I would care for Christ if it was, him before me, in need.
Yeah,
And yeah, it, it has an impact.
indeed. And you know what, Courtney? If our viewers are wondering perhaps how they might love the two of us like they might love
No,
Christ, what do you think they could do?
I'm closing my laptop now. Please like, share, and subscribe. Do it for, do it for the algorithm. Do it for Jesus.
In nomine Patri et Filii et algorithm spanctus all men.
Did you just bless the algorithm?
Oh, Latin is fun.
Oh my God.
Oh, you guys are wondering what the hell you keep me around for. It's mostly to be irreverent and hilarious like this, or just basically to freak everybody out. I'm like a one-man circus, a theological circus.
Clown shoes.
Have you seen my feet?
No, no, don't show feet. We're not charging for this content, and I really don't want to see that.
You know, I've been thinking of setting us up a Patreon. No, just kidding. All right, folks.
Out.
It's
Yeah. Go
been a
with God or
wild
something.
conversation. We will hopefully be back in 2 weeks to continue our trek forward out into the wilderness. Hope you'll join us for that. Website's a little bit behind and being updated, but stuff will be there. Join us on Discord, which is where the stuff's actually happening. We're in a bit of a transitional phase right now, but things are popping off a little bit. So I hope you will join us and see what's coming on. And like I said, join us for worship this week. It's an online worship service this week, and we are going to get a little bit salty. So I hope you'll join us for that. It's going to be fun. Other than that, take care. Have yourselves a wonderful week, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.